page 129, I'd like to call on Vice Chancellor Shute for a report on the Archer Center.
Thank you for this opportunity to discuss with you a great program that did recognize its 5th anniversary. Upon his retirement from Congress in 2000, Congressman Bill Archer wanted to create a program with the UT system that would be an intensive semester-based program of academics and internship in Washington, D.C. His goal was to help create a program through which students could discover that no matter which career path they choose, public service and incorporating public service into that career can be a productive and rewarding experience. The Bill Archer Fellowship began as a collaboration between UT Austin and the Office of Federal Relations with the stated purpose of introducing the best and brightest undergraduate students from Texas to the federal process. As the Archer Center slogan states, this is where Texas meets the world. The program began with 12 students during the spring of 2001 and has since been host to 162 upper division undergraduate students. The original class was populated with only UT Austin students, but has now expanded to each of the 9 academic campuses. In fact, UT Brownsville has selected its first Archer Fellow and will be represented among the 45 fellows participating in the program this coming year. We have a couple of the incoming fellows who are UT Arlington students with us today, and I'd ask them to please stand and be recognized. So the program has 3 main components to it: internship, scholarship, and friendship. Archer Fellows have held traditional government internships in Washington, on Capitol Hill and at the White House. They've also had non-government internships at the Gates Foundation, Brookings Institution, as well as media internships at CNN, NBC, Knight Ridder. I'm also proud to announce that an incoming fellow from UT Dallas has been selected as our first Archer Fellow working in the Office of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. They've also interned at the Smithsonian and foreign embassies ranging from Canada to Ghana to Germany. This allows a great experience for these fellows, uniquely tailored to their personal, their professional, and their educational goals. The program accepts students from all majors, as you can see in this chart. And while attending their internship in Washington, they also receive 12 hours of credit, helping them to move along their educational track at their home institutions. They enhance their internship by completing coursework in public policy, advocacy, and power during classes in the Office of Federal Relations a couple of evenings each week. These classes are taught by 3 adjunct professors, 2 of whom are Washington-based, 1 is Austin-based. All 3, each of the 3 has a PhD and a wealth of experience in their area of study, lending to the overall experience. UT Dallas oversees the academic integrity of the courses and the professors, placing them on their payroll as adjuncts and monitoring student evaluations and feedback. The courses are listed on each campus, as you can see here, so that the students maintain full-time in residency status and pay tuition and fees applicable to their component institution. And because an enormous part of the DC experience happens outside the classroom, the Archer Center staff coordinate regular social, cultural, and political outings. We coordinate visits to the White House, Pentagon, Kennedy Center, Mount Vernon, a host of other activities and sites in the area. What's interesting about this photo is this was during the celebration of the UT football team at the White House, and only 3 of those pictured there with the president are Archer Fellows. This one right here was actually their fellowship supervisor at their internship. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish who's the boss and who's the employee in Washington these days. Now, a key role for Archer Center staff is recruitment. Working with campus contacts appointed by each institution, Archer Center staff market the program through various methods. They conduct on-campus information sessions, and then they tap into formal and informal means of communications within those campuses as well. The center also has a website, which is relatively new, which serves as a resource for not only current and prospective fellows, but also as a resource for the alumni, which is a very strong growing network for the program. The application process itself is somewhat rigorous. There are packages created on each campus in conjunction with the campus contact. They identify the finalists, and then sitting with Archer Center staff, a panel of interviews are conducted on a face-to-face basis, which can often help determine if the student is suited for a rigorous semester in Washington, D.C. This process is very intensive and inclusive, so it only happens once a year, and we select for both semesters during that process. Archer Fellows represent the best and the brightest of each campus. They include National Merit Scholars, Truman Scholars, McDermott Scholars, and many other distinctions. At the conclusion of each semester, we survey our internship sponsors and ask them about their experience with the fellow and what they might suggest that we do to improve the program. As you can see from many of these comments, we receive many glowing remarks about the fellows, and without exception, get a request from those sponsors to contribute more fellows to the program in the future, to their internship programs. And they leave our fellows leave a lasting impression of professionalism, intelligence, and excellence on those internship supervisors. Our alumni are some of the best assets of this program. After they leave the Archer Fellowship, they go on to impressive careers or postgraduate work. Some currently are in law schools at UT Austin, SMU, Ohio State, Columbia, Harvard. One is at the London School of Economics, another studying at the Kennedy School at Harvard, and proud to say one at UT Southwestern Medical School. We also have just learned that a fellow from the fall of 2003 at UT Dallas has been appointed to the NYU Law Review for this year. We're very excited about that. Many go on to public service careers in Washington and outside the country. We currently have graduates working at the White House, on Capitol Hill, federal agencies, and a host of other careers in Washington. Some are outside the U.S., for instance, one teaching school in Israel, and another working for the European Union in Brussels. And one in particular I'm quite fond of, I've asked to join us today. If I could have Arturo Barrios stand up, please. He was from UTEP, was one of our Archer Fellows in the infamous class, the 9/11 class of the fall of 2001. But prior to becoming an Archer Fellow, served as the 2000 chair of the System Student Advisory Council. Now, sometimes when you look at these fellows in the eyes, you can see their future potential. And he proved it within his first month of the program. We helped him get a fellowship at the World Bank across the street from our office, and within 1 month, he convinced his supervisor to have business cards printed that said, Arturo Barrios, Consultant, World Bank. Well, Arturo's had a very storied career since the program, and he currently serves as board director under the Secretary for External Relations for President Fox in Mexico. Now, I'm sure we'll see more of him. And whichever path they choose, we often hear a report that this was a life-changing experience for them, exposing them to a world of opportunities they may not have otherwise have had, and we're very proud of that fact. Let me spend just a minute talking about the funding of the program. It is funded by a private endowment managed by the UT Foundation. It's received numerous corporate private donations over its 5 years. It's also received foundation grants, and all of this funding allows us to operate the program without significant budgetary contributions from the system. Fellows do incur significant personal expense during the program, unfortunately. In addition to paying for their tuition and fees at their home campus, there's an estimated cost of about $6,000 just for being in Washington during that semester, when you include housing, transportation, meals, and incidentals. We've also received some funding recently, thanks to the great work of Senator Hutchison and Congressman Bonilla, working with Chairman Archer. The centers received 2 federal grants from the Department of Education, totaling $750,000 for the 2006 fiscal year. These are 2-year allocations that will expire at the end of this coming spring, but it has allowed us to conduct the operation of the program to increase technological advantages the program did not have before it, and more importantly, allow the draw from the endowment to remain in place, hence growing the endowment. The center has development plans. There's a recently completed DVD for marketing development purposes, which we will be sending to each of you in the near future. And we are currently working with the Chancellor, Dr. Melandra, and the Office of General Counsel to explore the possibility of applying the Regents Visiting UT System Students program to the Archer Center. This is a program the board approved in December of 2004, which allows a student at one institution to spend a semester at another institution within the UT system. The student pays the tuition and fees to their home institution, which is then transferred to the host institution, covering the expense of educating that student while they're away. If this was applied to the Archer Center, under current tuition and fees for the coming year, this would provide roughly $140,000 annually to the center, thereby covering the operating budget and offering assistance to the fellows. Now, what is the future of the Archer Center? One thing we would like to do is expand this to the health campuses. As I said, currently it's just the 9 academic campuses. We need to find an appropriate way to work with the health campuses, but I think it's absolutely essential that we give our health students the opportunity to see what enormous impact the federal government has on their future careers. We'd also like to apply this to graduate programs at the academic campuses. One of those could be developing a summer program with the LBJ School, for instance. There are many other opportunities, we are sure, among the 15 institutions. A long-term goal would be to create a permanent presence for the UT system in Washington that would include the Archer Center and perhaps a permanent residency for these fellows. There are many universities and systems in Washington that have their own facilities. We currently lease space in an office building downtown not far from the White House. But a facility that bears the system seal and provides resources for students, administrators, visiting students, would allow expanding a growth of our national footprint, as well as the ability to further elevate the profile of the UT system among key federal agencies and organizations. Currently, Archer Fellows reside in townhouses that they lease through a student housing organization. We help coordinate that lease of those townhouses. And in that process, the fellows contribute nearly $170,000 annually to the D.C. real estate market. A permanent facility would allow those funds to help pay for that facility, as well as create office space for the Office of Federal Relations, Archer Center staff, and visitors from the UT system. We currently have on average 10 to 20 employees from across the campuses in the system who visit Washington each week. And to have a place where they could call home, or a place where they could set up an office while they're in Washington, would be a big benefit to all. As you can tell, I'm quite proud of this program. It has had phenomenal growth in its 5 years. It's had great outcomes in terms of the individual achievements of its fellows. It's got a dedicated staff that I'd like to introduce to you very quickly. Jennifer Sarver, our Archer Center Director, and April Adams, our Assistant Director, who happens to be an Archer Fellow alum that we just could not let go of. She was so good we had to keep her. And it's my honor also to introduce to you Chairman Bill Archer, who without this program, without him, we would just not have this program or the even incentive to do it. And Bill, if you would please stand and be recognized. We thank you again. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we're available for any questions the board may have.
Excellent presentation. If the Regents have not seen the school up there and met some of the students, I would highly encourage you to do so. I've visited twice. It's very impressive. I think this is one of the best things we do in preparing young men and women for leadership in the coming generations, and I just am very pleased that this is part of the UT system. Regent Haley.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to congratulate you and Jennifer and April as well. I've had several friends who've gone through this program and really cannot stop talking about how much it changed their life and gave them an insight into what's going on in D.C. and a passion to go up there after they graduate. And to the rest of the board, I think this is something that allows us to be creative with the graduation rates problem as well, because we have so many students who do want to take time off from school to spend a semester in Washington or someplace else, and this allows us to still get the course credits so they can still graduate on time. So I think this is a really great program for the UT system, and I'm very proud that we have it.
Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chairman Cryer.
First of all, thank you, Congressman Archer, for having this vision. If you had not done that and led the effort to put it in place, we wouldn't be here talking about it today. So thank you for your continued involvement as well. Secondly, I would love to see the board encourage further exploration of the residence hall. The California system has had a building in place for years. I have heard many people attribute to it a part of the credit for their leadership in attracting research dollars, because it is so easy for folks from their colleges and universities to go to Washington to access support from the system to work with each other. And could you give us a little more detail? I know you've been talking with real estate. What would be your next step in pursuing the viability of making the numbers work?
I think the next step is something we've chatted with the Chancellor about, and my understanding is that he's asked facilities planning people to start looking into that process, see what the procedure is for creating a facility outside the state, as well as what the numbers would be. As you can imagine, the D.C. real estate market is steep. Our understanding is that the California building was bought or was constructed to the tune of $23 to $28 million 4 to 5 years ago. Might have been 6 now. So it is quite expensive. There are options to perhaps purchase and renovate, and we've started to look into that as well. We've also been working with the Office of the General Counsel to see about what types of funds could be used for that type of purchase or renovation.
And we have certainly seen on our campuses that residence halls actually in many cases can make money, that there's also a market involved with the private sector, for example, that worked with the UTSA campus to make those initial investments. And I would ask, Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate that we ask facilities and planning to bring back a report to our next meeting on what
The possibilities.
on the possibilities and options that might exist. Without knowing the numbers, we can't possibly evaluate.
Very good. Chancellor, if you'll ask Dr. Kelly to prepare that. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Yes, Regent Estrada.
I think I read that the Watergate complex was up for sale.
Change the name.
Well, as much as we talked about Texas Tech yesterday, they actually have a house for their students, and Texas A&M provides housing for theirs as well. So I think it's something that we should be looking into.
If we can't afford it on our own, it might even be an opportunity for collaboration with the other major systems in the state.
On a serious note, Mr. Chairman, although it goes without saying, I think Texas and really the whole country is indebted to our senator's namesake for his public service career and contributions to our country, and couldn't think of a better role model for our future students than Congressman Archer. Thank you.
I agree. Chancellor.
Mr. Chairman, there's one comment I wanted to make, and it's really in relation to Regent Cryer's comments. Mr. Chute, I think we need to get academic affairs involved in this. If you have one semester's program and they're paying $170,000 a year in rent, give or take a little, I'm no expert, that's a $1.7 million building, which is probably a large studio apartment in some of the areas of Washington. So to make this work, and I really agree on the need to make it work, I think if we could do some projections about how we would expand the program, what the number of students might be, because I do think your cost dramatically, I mean, you really do have economies of scale. If that's one semester and $170,000, you're at another semester, similar number of students. I think we need to think that through, and then I just very much hope we can figure out a way to do this. Let me just say that for the record.
Happy to work with Dr. Melander.
Could I add something?
Yes, Dr. Mullane.
We talked about collaboration across our campuses already, and I wanted to make sure that we give credit to the University of Texas at Dallas, which has become the administrative home for the course registrations as they exist. But I know that under Jennifer's and Will's and others' leadership, and working with the University of Texas, Dallas, even undergraduate students, we're already beginning to explore some of these ideas, both in terms of the expansion of students, expansion of courses, and then the financials as well.
Good.
That's been a wonderful relationship.
Regent McHugh, did you have an observation? Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Vice Chancellor
Thank
Shute,
you.
for an excellent presentation, and thank you, Chairman, for coming. Thank you.